actually want to watch the movie. Every time I see a clip, I want to watch the movie.
So, you and Paul Giamatti for 22 minutes. Probably quite a bit of fun for you professionally.
Absolutely, yeah. And almost every single person, because we'd shoot with a new actor and do a chunk, and I only had Sarah Gadon. Who else came back for frequent, more than one scene? Why am I blanking on this?
Because it's a director's
Torvald. And yeah, so we'd have a few days, and so I'd be in a kind of state of perpetual nervousness the whole time, because normally you can kind of get used to the other actors you're working with and stuff. And I'd already done, like, you know, with this scene with Juliette Binoche, she's like my favorite actress, one of, and
grabbing at your ankles.
Yeah, well, I'm literally having sex within about 2 minutes of meeting her. I mean, like, there was no rehearsal, nothing. She'd flown in from Paris. Like, I mean, that was it. And but with Paul, it was obviously the most significant chunk. We had 6 days at the end of the movie to shoot it, and he turned up. And this funny thing about Paul, because everyone basically has the same opinion of Paul. Everyone thinks he's like a genius. And,
yes.
And he does not realize at all. It's the strangest thing. It's like he's never acted before, and it's not even vaguely fake humility. I mean, he doesn't even know what he's done, and so he turns up and he's absolutely petrified to do this scene, saying exactly the same stuff I was saying at the beginning. Saying like, I don't understand what it's about. Like, what, you know, I don't know. I have no idea how to do it. And so it kind of calmed me down a little bit. And I found out afterwards as well, which is the weird thing, we both looked at the exact same video on YouTube for our characters, like the exact same thing, which is this video of Jeffrey Dahmer with his dad doing an interview. And we'd literally been studying the same thing. And I was like, it's the most incredibly strange, like nothing to do with the script at all. And just round about the same time we looked at the same thing. But I love Paul. I think he's, it was great. And for a kind of intense scene, it was just really, we were just playing it for laughs, basically.
By the way, Jeffrey Dahmer is not a sociopath, he's a psychopath. We ought to make that clear. He's a psychotic, you know. It's worse than sociopath.
Just a sec, though. Explain the difference.
Well, a sociopath is someone who has difficulty dealing with people in society, and you might say that Eric Packer would be a sociopath, but a psychotic is dangerous and capable of murder.
Right.
The thing I found interesting with that interview specifically is how his dad was with him. And that's what I related to with Eric, where you kind of have, it's the thing about empathy. I mean, sometimes like empathy causing you pain, a lot of pain, and so, you know, he's kind of, Eric, a lot of his world is insulating himself from some kind of fear of pain or something, I think.
Yep.
Did you, in either technical or professional terms, is there anything you took away from working with Paul, where you went, I'm going to do that? That's great.
I don't know. I mean, it's weird. Like, I mean, most of acting, for me anyway, I kind of fell into acting, and I don't know really what I'm doing at all. And
keep it up.
But like I think but I do really like movies, and I've always really liked movies, and I kind of like the idea of like being in a movie like this. I get to work with David, and then you realize how much easier it is when you just have like great people. If you have, I mean, you don't have to do anything. You're not even thinking. Like if you get like with Paul, I didn't have a single thought in my head the entire time. I mean, and he would, I think, say the same thing probably. I mean, but it's kind of, it's amazing. I've never really done anything where it's amazing to watch someone just provide infinite amounts of stuff to play with. I have no idea if it makes any sense. What time is it?
We've been up here for about 4.5 hours. Here as I can tell. When you thought I need a very articulate, crazy person at the end of the movie, you thought Paul Giamatti. And
Yeah, I don't actually. You know, you sort of, when you're casting, you know, you get lists of actors from agencies, for example,
Right.
because the script gets around and people know that the script's around, and agents want to get their actors into your movie, and they provide names for actors, some of whom are completely ridiculously wrong, but some who might be interesting. But I've met Paul a couple of times when he was shooting in Toronto, and I always also thought he was a genius and brilliant, and it just, he was we didn't go to anybody else. I mean, I really thought, this is the guy. I really think he would be fantastic for that role. So for me, that was a no-brainer, really. I didn't even have to look at a YouTube interview.
You didn't, and you already knew he's kind of a mensch anyway. I mean, he's got
and he has a good.
He's a very nice man.
You do actually do that kind of homework too. Is you want to find out if somebody is an asshole, basically, because it's not only life's too short, but the movie schedule is too short to deal with people who are prima donnas, or who make everything be about them and torture you, and you know, there's so many ways it can go wrong in a movie, and I really like to have fun making movies. I mean, I really, when it goes right, it's about the most fun you can have. You know, it's really great. But there are so many ways it can go wrong, and after a while, as you get older, you have some experience, you know how to avoid those terrible structures where it's going to be a nightmare for you.
We don't have to mention names. It would be lovely if you did. But have you ever had one of your movies, and you know, a lot of your movies are, it's not like some studio wobbles up to you with a great big bag of money and says, you know, make our dreams come true. You hand build them. But have you ever had a movie where an actor just about took it down or destroyed it because they're such a pain?
No, not taking it down, but I have had some extreme weirdness only once or twice. I won't mention any names, but pretty entertaining stories that I could tell you, you know,
that
about this.
You don't want to relive, though.
Yeah, but enough to let you know that, and this was a wonderful actor, you know, and in the movie he gives a great performance, but a nightmare. It had nothing to do with me. It had all to do with him, you know, really. And I know this because Rob told me.
Should know that human beings are capable of just turning. I mean, your movies are almost all about human beings morphing and changing into monsters, more or less.
Well,
sorta
creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you have to actually have monsters to work with. You know, and because what people forget, and because of the publicity and behind the scenes and all that stuff, and the intensity and the money and the, you know, is that it's like you're like children playing in a sandbox. You really are. I mean, you're putting on, you know, funny clothes that aren't your clothes, and mustaches and funny accents, and you're pretending to be people you're not. And you're playing that you're killing someone, or you're doing this, or you're driving a car and you're not really, but you're fooling the audience because it looks like you're driving a car, you know, and it's playful. I mean, there's a real childlike joy that can be had from movie making. That is wonderful, and that's what I look for, just in terms of the tone on the set. And when you get great people to play with, you know, it's terrific. It's a wonderful experience.
We went out on the inner tubes and asked people for questions for you guys in the hopes of they could come up with something better than my banal, quite expected questions. This is from Nancy Cambino from Long Island. I just love that. Nancy Cambino from Long Island. Long Island, represent. Mr. Cronenberg. Sorry. Sorry. Dear Mr. Cronenberg. You wrote the screenplay for Cosmopolis, as well as many of your other films. Do you prefer to direct films that you have written yourself because you know as a writer exactly how you intended it to be played?
Well, actually, once you're on the set, there's no difference, because it doesn't matter where the script came from. At that point, it becomes this mysterious thing that you have to try to make come alive.
Right.
And the fact that you wrote it yourself, whether it's an original screenplay, which I've done, or an adaptation, which this is, at that point, it's almost as though somebody else wrote it. I mean, it really, because a screenplay screenwriting is a very weird form of writing. It's not like writing a novel. It's not like writing a play. It's a weird kind of skeleton sketch idea, and it needs a lot of input from a lot of people to make it really work and come together. So it doesn't actually, the answer is there is no difference as a director, whether you've written the script yourself or not. You don't really know the script better because you wrote it. That's the weird thing. You really don't know it better.
This question is from
Nancy. That was a great question.
It was. Nancy, are you sitting right there?
I am, yeah.
I'm sorry I imitated your voice.
All right.
I thought this was like from out on the interwebs somewhere, and here you are sitting right there. Wow.